hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are back live on Be Honest with Dr. Yana. And today I'm honored to have Dr. John Gray back with us again. Welcome, Dr. John Gray, because we are like Greenberg, gray, and all of the colors of the rainbow.
That sounds good to
Yeah,
me. So nice to be with you again.
thank you, thank you. Now, John, out of all I must tell you, out of all people that nowadays speak on relationships and on this hot topic on how to understand each other, how do genders uh, go into each other, understanding the soul process, the heart, the mental process, the hormonal process, out of all people that are talking about it at this time, I find you and your books the most easiest to understand, the easiest to comprehend. Because while this topic can be pretty complicating, and this is why it is so popular because people want to understand each other, nevertheless, out of all people, you are the most accessible one. And I do appreciate you. I know that you are in high demand, you have meetings back to back. So it is, this topic is very popular because there's a great interest in understanding each other and there is a lot of misunderstanding as well. So let's get to the topic. What women want, is that an actual secret, or can we uh, get this mystery and understand each other finally?
Well, Dr. Yana, first of all, that was Freud's big question. Everybody asked the question, what do women want? Because once they get what they want, they're going to want something else. you know, the forget his name right now, but it's a well-known concept in psychology is the hierarchy of needs. And the hierarchy of needs is that if you're cold, you're going to need warmth. If you're hungry, you're going to need food. But when you have warmth, you have shelter, you have food, you have companionship, then what happens is those things aren't so exciting. Like if you're broke and you find $20 on the ground, you're like made your day, right? But if you're Bill Gates, you find $20 on the ground, you don't even pick it up. It doesn't make any difference. So
That's true.
when you're getting what your basic needs are met for survival and for security. It was Dr. Maslow. He pointed out, and it's stood the test of time. There's a lot of variations of it. But once you have the basics, then what you need is, and he didn't understand gender, so I'll have to put the gender spin on it. But what you need is a kind of emotional support. That's what he would say. You need emotional support. Well, it's the male side of us at that point needs to assert itself, to be successful, to feel independent. And the female side of us is to be happy, to be fulfilled, to have fun. Now, men, once they get to the level where they can provide for themselves and they're successful in achieving their goals, then they want to go over and have fun. And they want to have joy and love. And for men, a lot of men, that's about sex. Sex is so pleasurable and so forth. It could be other things as well. So, but for women, as they get those basic needs met, then naturally they start to feel a need for independence. And that's what we're dealing with today. The world's changed dramatically since World War II. And the world, so much technology, so much everything's available. You don't have to cook, you don't have to clean, you can have people do it for you. You can, have a whole new life where you don't really depend on your partner so much. And particularly as women are twice as educated as men, they're making more money. This is happening over half the couples. The woman's making as much or more money than the man. That's never been the case. Okay, so why does that affect us huge? Of course, it's going to affect us huge because men are primarily motivated by feeling needed. And a lot of women today, they don't understand why they need a man. Because historically, for thousands of years, I mean, this is in our genes. What do you need a man for? Money, protection, support, security. So that's the general theme. It's always security. But today we live in a world civilization. What gives you security is money. If you can make your own money, what do you need a man for?
Well, the thing is that I have so many successful single women in their prime time, and nevertheless, they have everything that they need. Like you said, okay, according to Maslow, everything, all the needs are met. But then they do want a partner, they do want a man to spend their life with. Now, how is this dynamic is playing out?
Well, first of all, it's hard to even feel the depth of why you need a man. So I can go give a talk to a group of to 15 people, or I can fly to China and they'll pay me $30,000 and have 1,000 people. What am I going to do? I'm going to go where the biggest audience is, where they're going to pay me the most. That's just what it is. I still give the little talks in my neighborhood, but I travel the world because it's a big reward. I feel like I'm making a difference. When people pay you for something, it's because they're saying, we value you. And when you value something, it's because it's giving you something you need. If you want men, if you're a woman and you want a man to be motivated to pursue you, to want to please you, want to provide for you, be turned on to you, be attracted to you, to prioritize you. All of that comes about when you, as a woman, are actually in touch with a part of you that says, I really need a man. Now, what you need a man for is no longer money or food or security. Just you've got an alarm system in your house, you have police in your system. Well, what do you need a man for? This is what Maslow's explaining. When your basic needs are not being met, you have other needs that come up. You have other desires to come up. I want a man. Yes, I want a man, but do you know what the need is? Why do you want a man? What's he going to do for you? He's going to provide companionship, which is what you just said, which is a reason to need a man, but it's not that great of a reason. It doesn't make you different from other women, because that's like you're paying me $50 for my talk as opposed to 30,000. What's the difference? Every man is hungry for a woman who's on her female side and needs me. And if you're on your male side, you don't need me. When you're on your male
These are
side,
the golden words. These are the golden words, and we need to actually pay attention, and for the audience to pay attention to it, and me including. The words that you just uttered, I think that, in my understanding, they are the basis of all good relationships between men and women. As far as I understood your philosophy, this is what it is. Because if men don't feel needed or appreciated for what they do, if they do it, then they see the lack of need of
it's
themselves in the presence of a woman. So they
right.
withdraw themselves.
And a lot of, but some people want to discount this and they kind of go, oh, but everybody needs each other. No, I don't need a woman. I need a woman who needs me. Okay. I
Mhm.
don't need her to be my companion or whatever. No, I need a woman who needs a companion. And, and I'm her companion. So there's a high value on what I do. But it's not just companion. Oh, that's the surface level. I want to have now what does she want? She wants somebody in her life that fulfills that need for companionship. And the need for companionship is really just a bit of safety. You can be companions and friends with other people. What you're looking for is a man. This is what women want, they may not even know. I want somebody I can be with as a companion, who I can be naked with, who I can feel safe to be naked with mentally, emotionally, and physically. And many women do not even know what that means. They know what the taking the clothes off thing is. Some women will say to me, oh, I'm dating another man I have to take my clothes off with. You should never take off your clothes with a man until first you feel completely safe and appreciative of the fact that you have conversation with him, that he has values, that you have similar values. You don't have to be the same. That's very important. It's the differences that create attraction. You can have many similarities, but many differences. For example, one could be Republican, one could be Democrat. And as long as they can communicate in a way that respects and appreciates that other point of view, instead of demands that they change or their point of view upsets you, then you'll have this difference, which creates attraction. Now, ultimately, the real thing that creates attraction is that when women are more feminine than the man, and the man is more masculine than the woman. And we have all these images of what does it mean to be feminine? I was just teaching a class this weekend, and there was a lady from Italy, very expressive, beautiful lady. And she kept thinking I was saying to be a woman meant you had to be like, oh, my darling, oh, would you do this for me? Oh, and she was, I don't want to be a geisha. I'm not asking any women to be a geisha. What feminine means is that I have a need that you can provide that will make me really happy. And then I'll explain what those needs are, that this is, and what men's needs are if they're going to be the person you would desire in your life. It's like we might have the image of, oh, we can lift heavy boxes. Okay. All right. Well, for some men, that's very attractive to other women. Some women, that's not. Some men, what he's got in his bank account can be very attractive. It's all a matter of, if you have a need, let's say you have no money, and a man has money, that would make you turned on quite a bit until you get together and then you want to talk or share your feelings. And he says, that's ridiculous. Why are you complaining? You have all of this. So men have to learn how to communicate with a woman that makes her feel safe to be more feminine. Now, even these words all have all kinds of different meanings for different people. So I like to simplify, as you mentioned. We have basic biological differences between men and women in that when we're happy, we're not stressed. Okay, then we have the stress hormone. When you have the cortisol being produced in your brain, there's a mechanism that automatically happens where your brain goes into a bias of negativity, a bias of mistrust, a bias of closed heart. For a man, it goes into a bias of, I'm not going to open up to you. I don't care. I'm not going to give so much because I won't get paid, so to speak. It doesn't work. Like for men, when they're ready to leave a relationship, often they're feeling, no matter what I do, it's never enough to make her happy. She's just unhappy. Then we blame her for being unhappy instead of knowing what are the things we're doing causing her to be unhappy. You have to have a basic knowledge of what's most important to women. What do women want? What women want is safety. When they have physical safety, now they need emotional safety. Emotional safety is felt when a woman shares something that's a little dangerous, like to say, at work today, I was so embarrassed. I said the wrong thing. And, a man could say at that point, what'd you say? Yeah, you should be embarrassed.
That's what they say. You should be. How many times did I hear that? Yeah.
You should be. Or she could say, I was so disappointed. I'm so sad. And he said, well, don't be sad. I mean, this happens. Life isn't perfect. Whoever told you life's not supposed to be, that life's supposed to be perfect? Or you're angry, men will say, well, that's what it is. If you're a man, and usually most it's men who go to anger management. Talking when you're angry is the worst thing for a man. I'll get there. But in anger management, one of the things to remind men not to get angry is to have the phrase, shit happens. Just get it. There's not a day goes by when shit doesn't happen. That means you don't get what you want. You get in traffic jams. You get here. Just you have to accept that's what it is. But if my wife's upset, I'm not going to say that. That's not good advice. I'm going to say, help me understand that better. Tell me what. What else? What else? Because if she can, you see, when a woman's in a stress state, she's making male hormones. She's not making female hormones. Anytime a woman is not stressed, she's making 10 times more estrogen, the female hormone, than a man, than your average man. That's what we call it a female hormone. It's because it's necessary to make babies, one. And two, is if a woman is happy, we can now test. We just see a happy woman, her estrogen levels are 10 times higher than a happy man. And a man, his testosterone levels, if he's happy, are 10 times higher than a woman's. And if he's in love with her, his testosterone level and sexually attracted, his testosterone levels will be double. And if a woman's in love with a man, or she's happy and she's in love with him, and she's starting to feel sexual and wanting sex because she's in love with him, not because she's horny or something, but she's in love, she feels satisfied, then to have sex at that point, her estrogen levels double. So for women to have climax, not really climax, orgasm, you can stimulate the clitoris and produce a climax from testosterone. The clitoris primarily makes testosterone. The whole orgasm thing from the penis into the vagina to surrendering and feeling ecstasy and then having many, many orgasms, that's all about estrogen levels going higher and higher and higher. But if you have any goal, if you're a woman and you have any goal to have an orgasm, then generally you can't because you're trying. Anytime you're trying, you have a goal. And when you have a goal, you're producing testosterone. I'm not saying women shouldn't have goals. No, this is great things today. You're a powerful woman. Many women, they feel like I'm a man. And because their personality is such that they like to make money, they like to achieve goals, they like challenges, they go for it, they're good at it. But that's great. You're living in the right time where your temperament is very masculine, but because everybody's got different personality, masculine qualities, feminine qualities. I have total feminine qualities. I'm like Mr. Luxury Guy. I like people to wait on me. I like people to do things for me. I travel first class. I, I, I'm constantly minimizing any work I have to do. I get somebody else to do it for me. I'm the perfect woman. I could make any man, if I was a woman, so happy, because I would know how to ask for help. I would get help. I would keep him moving. I would give him so many rewards of appreciation and, oh, honey, would you do this for me? I would never complain to him. What's the point of complaining? Complaining is the stupidest thing you can ever do, because it would just lower a man's testosterone. But
Now,
women don't know. They don't understand your power to move a man. Now, me intuitively knowing all this, having a very strong feminine side, what's my problem? Well, I have to balance that with a strong male side. And so I understand how to do that. So now I'm a multi-orgasmic man because I have really high testosterone. My testosterone, I'm an alpha male. I'm in my 70s. My testosterone is 50% higher than when I was a young man. Where's that all coming from? It's because I understand the dynamics of male-female relationship, and I understand the dynamics of being a man. I never complain. If you complain and you're a man, you become a girl. Women complain. And what I'm teaching women not to complain by learning how to ask. That's all a complaint is poor communication of a request. But it's when women don't feel that they can ask for what they want, and they don't know how to ask in a way to get responses, then they keep being frustrated, not having what they want. Then they can go into, well, he should know, I told him once. Or they just get frustrated with him and they say, you forgot, you didn't do this. How many times I have to tell you, you should do this, you shouldn't do that. Why did you do that? All that stuff doesn't have any positive benefit. None.
and that
None.
is another crucial component, another crucial moment to understand for women, because in their majority, women don't understand this. They just go on autopilot,
They go
creating
on.
this sort of a drama. They don't know how to ask. And this is how they start, what is the word? Nagging. They're nagging, they're taking, they're eating the brain of a man little by little. So
Yes.
that is a huge problem.
But see, not complaining. I was just counseling a woman, before we got on, you heard the session. They were just so happy, so grateful, whatever, because she's a wife who never complains. And since we don't know her name, her problem is that she keeps losing babies. It can't come to fruition. And I explained to her, she's too positive because she's pushing down her requests. She doesn't want to bother her husband. She doesn't want to complain. So not complaining is a good strategy. But what is a complaint? It's what's behind the complaint is a request. Learning how to ask what you want in a way that men respond. Now, again, I say that some women will hear, I ask all the time and never works. And so then I have to complain. Well, first of all, start with complaining doesn't work. Pretending everything's okay when you have a complaint is, don't pretend you're okay, but do something to take away your emotional charge by recognizing that I complain too much and naturally he doesn't want to hear me. So he's less resistant to doing things for me. So let me start with little requests. And so one of my biohacks is every day you discuss with your partner and you just say to him, as a woman, because I'm working all the time, I make a lot of male hormones. I need my relationship and I can be much more loving and happy. And I know you want to make me loving and happy by having little things to raise my estrogen. And so I have a lot of biohacks that you can do for me. And what's ironic, these are things that women need. They don't know they want it. Okay, so you ask me, what do women want? They often want what's not possible. Look at what you need, what your needs are, and then what can actually fulfill that need that your partner can provide for you. So he can feel successful. That raises his testosterone, and you can get what you need. And that's what raises your estrogen. So then once you start getting what you need, now you start realizing what you want. So what you want, for example, is him to do things for you without complaining. So how do you do that? How do you get that? Well, you share with him. Basically, it would look a little bit like this, which is I'll just give you a simple biohack. Every day you say to your partner, and you set it up with your man. You say, look, I'm different. I'm from Venus. I'm in a man's
All
world.
the way from Venus.
Yeah, I'm all the way from Venus. And statistically, fact, in terms of a bell curve, the average woman who goes in the workplace they did this study of thousands of women. They found that women's stress hormones were double of man's, twice as high as a man's in the workplace. Now, the workplace is not against women, it's just not designed for women. And the whole concept of the workplace is not estrogen stimulating. My wife can say, hey, John, you're ignoring me. I say, oh, let me give you some attention. But I can't say that to a client. Somebody, you're ignoring me. You're not listening to me. I can't say that. No, the workplace is one direction. It's your male energy taking care of others. I'm taking care of others. What is the relationship? Is he's his male energy taking care of you. That's it. And ironically, in the perfection that God created us, is when he takes care of you, you're automatically giving him what he needs, because he feels if you have a need and I take care of it, how do I know I've taken care of it? Because you're happy. When you're happy to see me, when you feel grateful, when you feel more love for me based on doing something. So when I get this message, I'm successful. There's a need, I do something. And what happens biologically, this is even words, transcends words. Biologically, your estrogen will go up. And when a woman's estrogen goes up, she puts out a smell, a pheromone that goes into my little flaps inside of my nose as a man. And those
Uh-huh.
pheromones activate testosterone in me, which says to my brain that I'm a success. If my actions don't raise your pheromones and you pretend like you're happy and you're grateful and you feel so lucky to be with me, you can pretend all day, but you're not making the estrogen. You're not producing the pheromones. It's not going to raise my testosterone. So you have to be truly feminine, where a man knows what you need. You have to let him know. That's called asking for help. That's the magic moment, asking for help. So, well, first of all, it's hard for women to ask for help. They think that if you love me, you'll just do it. Also, if they ask for help and it's something little, a man will think, oh, you can do that, or I'll do that later. I'll put that at the bottom of the list. And you have to, why you're so frustrated with that? You asked, it's already a vulnerable thing to ask. And he said, well, no, I'm busy. Well, just closes your heart. So you have like apply these skills that have never been I've never read them in books, for example. It's just not in our collective consciousness, because they're the solution to the new problem that has rarely existed in history, which is women being independent and men taking care of those women who are independent. Well, she doesn't need his help. And a big reason for that is also we have, so much birth control and so much, what is it, where they kill the baby? What is it called?
Abortion.
Abortion. Yes. See, this is like Voldemort. I don't even like to say the word.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay. So
Yeah.
if we didn't have that before. I mean, it's not like in certain cases where it would happen, but it's become popular. Women are proud of it. We want to fund it. It's a big deal. It's the wrong direction to go in. There's situations where it might be necessary, but not like just casually go in and have free sex and then go have your baby taken out. What that did is that, first of all these birth control pills and then abortions, and suddenly sex is totally casual. Sex is the most sacred thing you can do. It creates life. It creates life. We've lost all of that. And guess who understands that intuitively? Primarily women. What? Why? Men don't understand that. They sort of have this super high sex drive. I gotta go find a woman. And what women were always taught to do is, nope, not gonna have sex with you till you earn it. And earning it, if you have any intelligence at all, you're not gonna have sex with somebody and you can have a baby unless they've already committed to you. And they've proven you're number one. Then you get a baby, and then he stays with you. Then when he stays with you, there's temptations all over the place. But God made it so he's not tempted. If a man has sex with a woman he's married to, this is all data. You have sex with a woman you're married to. It could be an exception where a man is just, for whatever reasons, you decide you want to be married, but you're fully committed, you're monogamous, there's nobody else that you're in love with, and you've grown in love with your partner. So when a married man has sex with his wife and he ejaculates, he produces a hormone called prolactin. And what that prolactin does is frees him from being horny. See, horny men are all looking for women. Okay, their energy is just going out all the time. I was just heard another interview with Tesla where
So
Tesla
how
said,
we hold on, John. So how do we prevent that in married couples relationships?
prevent what?
That you said that he is producing prolactin in the committed relationship, right? And then he doesn't. His testosterone goes down, right? This is my understanding. Testosterone goes down.
What happens is prolactin doesn't lower testosterone, it lowers dopamine. Now,
Dopamine.
dopamine raises testosterone in men. That's why couples have so much sex on the honeymoon. It's called the honeymoon time. Is that you're new, a new partner, okay, a new stage of life. Newness stimulates testosterone. First, newness stimulates dopamine, and dopamine raises testosterone in men. And for women, if she feels safe, then dopamine will raise her estrogen. Okay, so she has to feel safe, protected, and then estrogen will rise up. It's in every single romantic novel where the woman's in distress and then the man protects her and saves her, does something for her. You
So
know, when
do
we
women need to be
romantic novel,
actually,
he's
John?
like a pirate, and he's a
Uh-huh.
dangerous guy, but he protects her. He's a multimillionaire. He's this rich guy, which means he can provide the resources so she can feel secure. All those things stimulate the dopamine of how exciting that is, produces high estrogen in a woman. But
Now, do
one
we need to be
thing,
smarter here and, in fact, artificially create, intentionally situations where it wouldn't happen, where there's still the stimulus and excitement in the committed relationship?
that's right. And the longer you've been in the committed relationship, the harder that will be because there's prolactin. So I
There's
presented
that
a problem.
prolactin.
I just
Hmm.
presented the problem, which is affecting so many people because they're all wondering, why don't we have sex attraction? What happened to the sex? Where's the excitement? Where's the passion? And there's a lot of other things that could cause that. But if you have a good relationship, I'm saying when you have a good relationship, it can also dampen your sex life because the prolactin inhibits high dopamine in a man. And so if a man is dependent upon danger and taboo and drugs and whatever in order for his testosterone to go up, then a relationship, familiarity over time will dampen the dopamine. And if you're in a committed relationship, even more so, it will dampen your ability to have dopamine. So what do? I've presented a problem here and
This
I've
is
given
so
you the
scary.
reason for it. It's all right. It's very scary. So now let's look at the solution to that.
Yes.
Well, when I was down in the Amazon, okay, I took a private propeller plane, landed on dirt landing, had two guides, two different translators from Mexican, English to Mexican, Mexican to Ashwa. And then we went in a canoe for 3 hours down the Amazon to find a certain spot where there's a trail. We went 5 hours through the trail. I tell this whole story because you realize this little village I went to has no Western anything. This is not Western values at all.
Except
And
you.
except I was there and other people have been there too, are interested in meeting these people, going into the villages, seeing what it's like, exploring. So here I'm exploring, and at night I get out of my sleeping bag. I'm actually just in a sleeping bag there. They have huts. Okay, they have huts. There's a lot I could say about them, but in their huts, I would wander around at night and I'd be hearing everybody, all the women having orgasms, multi-orgasmic women. Now, did they have romantic husbands? No. Did the men listen to their feelings? No. See, part of what I'm teaching is if you want to maintain the bond, you have to raise a woman's estrogen. If a woman can talk about her feelings with a man, he doesn't get angry, it doesn't make her wrong, but actually is interested in your feelings, then you start feeling safer and safer to become emotionally naked to where you even discover things about yourself you didn't know before. So that's all these romantic things I talk about and all these skills that I can teach. They weren't doing any of that. And yet they were harmonious and having sex almost every night. What is going on? They had lots of prolactin in their bodies, but they lived at a time in the world where men did men things and women did women things. Men are not allowed to even walk in the
Uh-huh.
garden. Men are not even allowed to cook. Men don't take care of the kids except after 13. Men do dangerous things, dirty things, difficult things. Men are the workmen. They have rules. The rules were man's world, woman's world. They all taking care of the kids. They're all cooking and cleaning, walking down to the river, washing their clothes together. No men allowed. They're talking freely all the time, and they're complaining and whatever. They're sharing their feelings. And they're with women who all completely, they're not trying to change those women. They're just sharing. See, it's a difference between complaining. And I did say complaining, but really it was sharing. A sharing is where you're talking about discontent. It could be positive too, but sharing discontent about something with no intention to change somebody. Complaining is when you're unhappy and you use your unhappiness to change a man, make him feel guilty. You get angry with him, make him be afraid it's going to be days before you have sex again. Feeling hurt. Oh, I'm so hurt. And if that doesn't change, I'll be more hurt. And then, oh, I'm so hurt, so you should change. When you use negative emotions with your partner, not only will they not change, they'll feel controlled. Nobody wants to be controlled. Men don't want their behavior controlled, and particularly women don't want their feelings controlled. You're responsible for those. He's not. He should learn just let you feel what you feel and help you feel safer to express what's inside. But practically speaking, if you want to share your feelings with a man, talk about things that are bothering you and upsetting you and share with him, not the things you're upset with him about. Just raise your estrogen by sharing feelings about other things, frustrated emotions, disappointment, concerns, and worries in a limited amount of time, 10 minutes. So you should read my books to really put this into practice. These are like big books of how to do this. I'm kind of going through it quickly, but it's called a Venus talk. The Venus talk is where you take 10 minutes, where you say to your husband, okay, hand up, 2 hands up. It's the Venus talk. It's 10 minutes. He said, okay, I can do 10 minutes. Then you say, don't say anything. Just listen to me talk. And what you do is you talk. You start with what I'm frustrated about, using the phrase again and again. I'm frustrated because. Then you start telling your story, and then come back to saying the phrase, I'm frustrated because. Like, it could be I didn't make enough money today. There weren't people showing up at the place where I make money. I'm so frustrated. A lot of people didn't come today. And I'm frustrated because I wanted to make more money and actually I cooked more bread and I have to waste it and throw it away. So what happened to trigger the emotion, then why that emotion is painful. Otherwise you wouldn't even feel it. Okay. Negative emotions are painful. And if that doesn't let it go, then always with frustration. And what you would do if something's bothering you, if you're stressed, you're always upset. Whenever you're upset, feeling upset does nothing. Talking about I'm frustrated, then go, why am I frustrated? Because I didn't get what I wanted. So I'm disappointed. Feel the disappointment. Feel this, just feel it, the emotion. Be a woman, feel emotions. Yeah, you just stay on the surface all the time, or maybe you're angry, whatever. But feel the depth. Then under sadness and disappointment, there's always concern. You can't be disappointed if, look, I thought this person was going to buy from me, but I have plenty of customers, then it's not a disappointment. But if I thought these people were going to buy from me and they didn't, now I got this extra and I got to throw it away. So that's what my concern is. My concern is I'm going to have to throw things away. My concern is I wasted my materials, or it could be, and also somebody else was selling something new and different. My concern is maybe people are getting used to me and I have to provide something new and different for them. So it's just emotion, frustration, disappointment, concern. And then the other one is embarrassment, which rarely do women want to share. Most women, they're so masculine. They have, I'm proud of everything I do, masculine woman. No, as soon as you become embarrassed, you will become so attractive to a man. You see, every day I make mistakes. As I told you, I have a great female side. I say things all the time. I said that I could have done differently. Just I feel embarrassed about it. Not that I'm going to tell somebody, but if you have a spouse and you say to a man, oh, this thing happens today, I feel so embarrassed, that man is going to love you more. Why? Because when you're embarrassed, you're humble. Women on their male side are ego trips. You're all ego. Look what I can do. And look at men. They don't do this and this and this. The only time you could ever judge someone is when you're on an ego trip. I'm so much better. I see this all the time with women. Oh, what do I have to do? Treat him like a child? You talk about what men need. And I have to be like also nice and everything. I never said treat a man like a child. I said, let him treat you like a child, because you have the child brain. Now hear that in the right place. You have 20 times, if you're in a romantic relationship, you're like 20 times more estrogen. And what's the difference between children and adults, both boys and girls, is that they have much more estrogen than testosterone. So women always have this sort of vulnerable part of them, which is wonderful. Men don't. At puberty, our testosterone goes up 10 times more than a woman's, 10 times more. Now, unfortunately, women can demasculinize a man. What is decapitated? What, I forget all these terms.
Emasculate, emasculate. Yeah,
Emasculate. Just
it's
give him
huge
advice.
now. Hmm.
If a man
Hmm.
if a man does things you think you know better, don't tell him. But I want to help him. Anytime you help a man, you're pushing him away. You're pushing him down. Who
Just
are you?
zip.
Big shot. Just zip it up and then ask for help. See where you're humble. What do you need in your life? He doesn't need you. He needs you to need him. It's such a hard habit to make.
But what if he has a more feminine side, like you said, like you, for example, when you understand so much? I believe that also the innate ability
Well,
and
here's what
this.
happens here's when a man doesn't understand this stuff. And a man doesn't have to take my course for this if she understands it. But ideally, you could both read the book together, Beyond Mars and Venus. But a man who naturally has more feminine qualities, a really nice guy, and you'll lose attraction to him right away if he goes to his female side and starts talking about his feelings. Men, do not talk about your feelings with women. Talk about love feeling. Oh, I love you so much, honey. I'm so happy to see you. Be positive emotions. If you have negative emotions, do not talk about them. And this is the cardinal rule. No books talk about this. We've all been hypnotized to think that men are women and men should talk about their feelings. Women should talk about their feelings. Only reason why is it raises estrogen. It's like getting naked. Women need to be naked and they need to open up. That's how you cope with stress. This is proven biological. When you're stressed, your estrogen is too low. Do something to raise your estrogen. And now women are walking around with, compared to those women in those huts, they all have estrogen all day long. They feel safe. They feel secure. They're talking to women. They're doing that.
My mind is still in those huts in that village. The story
Yeah,
that you
they're
told.
amazing, multi-orgasmic women. I'm going, wow, what's this about? And probably the men understand the techniques. I understand as well the sex techniques for that. This is ancient knowledge, but it's men can learn how to be orgasmic as well without ejaculating. When a man can practice sex without ejaculating, and I teach that in my classes, then you never end sex. It's just she's done and you go back to sleep. It's fantastic.
And the
Oh,
access to those classes people can find on your website, which is
yeah.
listed
We have
below.
a class called Secrets of Great Sex. We also have a class called Understanding Men, and they help with the basics of sex. The actual thing about having sex without ejaculating, that's not on my website. People have to talk. It's more personal. I can't just
The
broadcast it to
secret, the
everybody.
secret,
Yeah,
the se-
yeah.
yes.
It's not easily. You have to talk about body parts in great depth and so forth, and how you pace things, what you do. But the reality is, on a simple level, just expand your awareness of making love to gentle affection, cuddling, nice affection and warmth, sometimes without any goal to have an orgasm, not trying to have an orgasm for him or for her, but just doing what feels good and then toning it down, feeling what. That's not my technique, but that's what couples can start to do now, just so that you're not having ejaculation every time you have sex. Because what happens, we know this is again biological. If a man ejaculates, his testosterone goes straight down, and then ejaculates 3 days later, it stays down, and ejaculates 3 days later, it stays down. If you ejaculate on Saturday night and you wait 6 days before you ejaculate, when you wake up on the seventh day, your testosterone will be 50% higher. 50% higher just by abstaining from sex. So some men are
What
just
a great
addicted.
secret to know.
Yes, and that's biologically proven. Studies have shown that. Just if the sex is not so passionate and exciting for both partners. See, some men don't even know what great sex is. All they're just getting an ejaculation. It's just a spasm. To me, it's like a sneeze. It's nothing. It's like nothing compared to orgasmic sex. And of course, orgasmic sex is not just on the man's side to know, it's for the woman to know as well. Because so many women in their head, they feel this pressure. I'm supposed to have an orgasm because men all want women to have an orgasm. I'm supposed to climax. And so, you're rubbing on her clitoris and she's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then what will naturally happen is it goes up and it will start to go down. It'll go up and it'll go down. Each time it'll go up a little higher, like from 1 to 10, it goes to about a 7. Then she needs to relax. And usually if you get to a 7, if there's no effort, there's no having to do. And then what happens for women is they feel like, okay, I have to push or I'll lose it. So many women that way. This is performance pressure on them. And instead, what you have to do is Forget about all that and just enjoy the moment. And when it seems to be a little less than, don't try to make it more than. This whole tendency, couples, like, oh, we're going to use the vibrator now. We're going to use fantasy now. We're going to say bad words to each other now. Kneel on the floor and I'll whip you. All these intense, crazy things do stimulate the hormones of estrogen. Like one couple did it in a very healthy way, with which I think was healthy. Is which, by the way, how do we solve the problem of too much prolactin? Well, this one couple, the way they do it is he drives a Harley and she rides behind him on the Harley. So the whole time she's in danger, but he drives in such a careful way to make sure she feels safe. So she's in danger and he's providing security for her by adjusting his style of driving in a way that makes her feel very safe. They're ready to have sex. Danger does it, but life is dangerous. But the more you can take care of yourself, the less dangerous there is. So if she's driving the motorcycle, is that going to help relax her for sex? No. It's him driving her. That's why you'll see couples in the beginning, the men always drive. But then after they stop having sex, the woman's driving. It's because she doesn't trust the way he drives. If she can't sit in a car and trust his driving and depend on him for security, she's certainly not going to get naked with him and be turned on. See, you got to have the right hormones. So the point of being with prolactin right now, it's set in stone, set in biology. Women, you have a loving man. He's there for you. You're going to lose interest in actually, you're going to lose the passion. You might say, why are we not having more sex? But you're just wanting him to be passionate towards you. And he just doesn't have the juice. And one of the reasons he doesn't have the juice is his basically the prolactin inhibits the dopamine from going up. So then they want to do, all these crazy things to try to get dopamine, pretend S&M and pretend danger so that the dopamine will go up. And that's, that people, listen, if people don't have my knowledge, that's really, at least they can feel some sexual energy. That's nice, but it won't last. The way it lasts is the way they do it in the Amazon, the way they do it in India, the way the ancient cultures did it in China, is you have polarity. The man is more masculine than the female. The only reason dopamine creates attraction and passion is that dopamine raises testosterone in men, raises estrogen in women. And when there's that difference, there's a polarity of a magnet pole and a male pole, female pole, positive, negative. When you get close, you don't feel it all the time. You just have a friendly, nice relationship. But when you get in bed and you're in your bed clothes and you cuddle and you get close, it's like those two magnets, the positive pole and negative pole, when they start getting really close, they click. And that's the spark. That suddenly it just gets turned on. You didn't do it. You didn't have the intention to do it. Although when you don't know exactly if it's going to happen, but if a man is not ejaculating all the time, for sure it's going to happen. But if he's ejaculating all the time, it's called, the prolactin will cause the recovery period before you can get an erection again. So you see these guys in 40, they're not getting erections. I get an erection every morning. I'm 73 years old. Why? Because my testosterone's so high, because I understand how to be masculine. Even though I have this female side, and by the way, you have to have estrogen to have an erection, but you have to have, your male side has to be more. If you're just on your male side, you're a sociopath. You have no emotion, no feeling, and you can't get erections. The only way sociopaths get erections is by causing pain to women or causing pain to others. These are all the people who start wars. All you people voting for wars realize that you're voting for people who are sociopaths. There's no part of anybody who listening to this that wants to be a politician and start a war. You're just convinced that somebody's going to attack us and you're scared and you react to it. This is such horrible manipulation. There's whole books written on this kind of stuff from, Princeton, from Harvard. They do self-analysis from psychiatrists. And they point out that every politician has either been a psychopath or sociopath. Psychopaths just really like your suffering and your pain. Sociopaths just think about themselves. Okay, they don't have any real empathy. They're the best fakers. Oh, they can just look like they care so much about everybody because they're actors. Actors are amazing. They have no sense of self. Even if you look at actors who are famous, their lives are crazy. because they don't have a sense of self. They can take on any role. You give me this role, give me that role, I can take it on. They don't have a grounded sense of who am I. What we want to be is who we are. And if you have a woman's body and if you're making money and you're independent, okay, you're on your male side, but that's not your primary biology. So you go to your male side, then you use a man to come back to your female side. Companionship. So you're not alone. Why is companionship so important? Because you're not alone. If you're alone, you make primarily testosterone. So for me, I had to become a monk to find my balance because I was so on my female side. I'm in the 60s. All I wanted was sex, drugs, and rock and roll. That's all female side. That's all irresponsible behavior. And then the Beatles, they all said, go to India, learn meditation and do that. And it's better than drugs. So I went and did that. But that's all about discipline. And that's all about doing it yourself. That's all about, sitting there yourself, silent, meditating for hours and hours and hours, fasting. So I needed that discipline in my life, and also not to masturbate. Masturbation is pure estrogen for men. That's why their testosterone will go up too, but their estrogen it feels so good. Their estrogen goes way high. Then they ejaculate, lose life force energy. And now the testosterone goes back down. But just like anything that causes high dopamine, it's like cocaine or it's like sugar. Eat a cookie and now you're hungry for another one because you got that dopamine hit and then it goes away. Now you have to have it again and again, as opposed to if you eat healthy food after a meal, you're satisfied. If you're eating junk food, you're always thinking about food. Same thing for men. If they do porn or they masturbate, they're always thinking about sex, and what they have to do is never look at that stuff. That's just, you got to free yourself from that for a while till you get enough prolactin where that doesn't affect you. And definitely be taught never to masturbate. This is the worst thing. And same thing for women. Don't masturbate either. And don't use your vibrator. What am I supposed to do? You have to realize the whole point of sex, if you're a human being, is if you want to make a baby, then have sex. Or use sex to feel more love for somebody else, not for yourself. I just read these people in books. Oh, touching yourself is a form of self-love. They're so lost in this whole thing that the United Nations this year passed the International Curriculum for Sex Education for Children. And in that sex education for children, which is hidden in it, all these flowers sounding things good, but right in there, when you get to the inside of 500 pages, you see, well, how do you teach sex to a third grader? You teach them to masturbate. Masturbation is self-love. What you're doing is dumbing down the society. It's the same thing, education is there to dumb you down. That's what you
I'm
have to wake up
speechless.
and
John,
realize.
you're saying to third graders?
Yes, that's what they said. Yes, this is now, sometimes people, so I told this to people, how could that be? Well, if you just casually read it, you won't find it. It's the devil's in the details, right in there. Third grade. Masturbation is touching yourself up and down, stimulating your body parts. Girls have a clitoris, guys have a penis. Go up and down, stimulate, and you will ejaculate. You don't have to do it. Oh, we're not saying you have to do it, but if you do it, it feels good. It's a form of self-love.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
I'm
Unbelievable.
speechless.
So please do not vote for anybody that votes for the United Nations. Just put it that way. This is sick. We don't need a United Nations, because all United Nations is you create a global problem, then you have a central place to solve it. Don't be fooled by all this free, wonderful talk about the whole United Nations is unelected people controlling you. Please elect your electors and let them understand. And while I'm at it, let me just point out the greatness of America, why so many people want to come to America. Not that there's not great people everywhere, and there are, but why do people want to come to America? It's the only country in the world that has a Bill of Rights. It's a democracy, but a democracy is tyranny. It can be more people decide to vote something just because there's more people deciding to make a law. In a republic, they're basically Bill of Rights. These are rights that we have. The government doesn't give it to us. This is nowhere else in the world. A Bill of Rights, it says, no, the government doesn't give this right to me. We're all born with the right for free speech. That's our right. You can't take it away. And right now they're taking it away everywhere. Every tyranny ever in past is always take away free speech. And the tyranny of relationships is today is we don't have free speech in our relationships. We have to learn how to communicate. But when couples don't know how to communicate with free speech, authenticity, share what you feel, when women can't do that because they don't know how to ask for help, they complain. It's like if somebody's stepping on your foot and you complain and nothing changes, the next time you complain louder. It actually hurts more if you complain and somebody does it again, as opposed to just ask the questions nicely. So here's an example. I have so many to pick from. How Bonnie completely changed me, my wife of 34 years until she passed. How to ask for help. Never tell a man what he should do. Okay. So with Bonnie figured this out and completely changed. I try to use different examples. Okay. For people might have heard these examples before. There was a time where I would go to my drawer in the morning and I would take off my t-shirt to get another one. And the t-shirt would just drop down. I didn't even notice it. And Bonnie would say, John, you always leave your t-shirts on the floor. Is it such a big deal to take your t-shirt and put it 4 feet away into the hamper in the closet? Is that such a big deal for you? I said, I'll try to remember. I just didn't remember. That's just not who I am. I remember big things, little things. I don't tend to remember. That's just me. And if actually it's not just me, it's a lot of men. If you understand the emotional part of the brain, the emotional memory part of the brain is twice as big in women. My complaint is women remember too much. Women's complaints is men forget stuff. There's actual biological reasons for this stuff. So the next one is, so I'm leaving my t-shirts down there. And this went on for a while. She got so frustrated each time because she'd ask me, I said, I'll try to remember. And I would forget.
And she never said that next time I'll burn all of your t-shirts.
That's right. She could have said that. Okay. None of that will work. That, you see, men respond to love. They do not respond to criticism. They don't respond to punishment. They don't respond to we go the wrong direction. So this is how she figured it out. So she said, what can I say to you so that you'll remember it? I say, not what you say. I already know that you want me to put my t-shirts away. Just don't put them away. Let the stack get bigger and bigger and bigger. And on my own, I will notice it and put it away. And I will feel, oh, I did that. I didn't have to have mom tell me to do that. So I did it. So I evidently it took about 3 or 4 days. The stack was building up. And then she complained again. You didn't put your t-shirts away. And I said, I told you to leave the stack there. She says, I couldn't leave it there. I couldn't take it. So I said, look, just let the stack be there. Let me make the change on my own. I'll do it on my own. Well, what she did instead, and this is even more brilliant than my idea, is she noticed I left one t-shirt on the floor and she had cleaned up the whole room. We have a beautiful bedroom. Thank goodness for her. I'm a bit more messy than her. And so everything was just right. And there was the t-shirt. She said, oh, John, would you put the t-shirt away? Just simple as that. Oh, John, would you put your t-shirt away? I said, sure. She didn't make a big drama. She didn't make me wrong. She just it'd be like if you're at Thanksgiving dinner and you say, hey, John, would you pass the butter? That's the way you ask a man anything. The same tone of voice, as if, of course, you're expecting him to do it. He always does it. That's called love, allowing someone to be themselves. And I know women don't know how to do this. It takes practice. So I give you an example. Ask for someone to pass the butter. That's the tone of voice. That's the attitude that will cause a man to remember to pick up his t-shirt. So she just, in that tone of voice, she says, oh, she was delighted I was walking by. And she says, oh, John, would you pick up your t-shirt and put it on the hamper? Very simple. It didn't look me in the eye like, are you going to do it? Just simply kind of looked away. So I picked it up. I put it in the hamper. No big deal. And then she took a sigh of relief. She goes like this.
Heaven went down on earth.
Then what she said, she said she just had a sigh. And then she says, look how beautiful the bedroom is. On an emotional level, I took credit for making the bedroom clean. Do you see the psychology there? Now I'm the clean guy. I took credit. She gave me credit. If women just could understand with men, whenever possible, create situations where a man can take credit for something, even when it comes to going on dates. Don't tell him we should go see this. Then you get all credit for coming up with the idea. Instead, say, let's plan a date next weekend. Here's 3 things I'd love to do. Would you pick one of those? Then he picks it. He gets to take credit for it. And he has a week to think about doing that for you, which will keep anticipation of success raises testosterone in men. Anticipation of being supported, anticipation of receiving raises estrogen in women. So foolishly, men will wait to the last minute and say, honey, what do you want to do this weekend? Complete disaster. No hormones from that.
I love it. John, I thought that we would have a conversation and a lot of the things that I already knew and from your books and from your talks, but I'm going to be the one rewatching our conversation several times because there was a well of wisdom and so much that even I did not know. And I did not even know that I needed to know that. And now I do because that makes me smarter in the relationships. Looks like now we at the end we moved already into our next topic that we will discuss a few weeks from now, which is called what men want, because today we discussed what women want and we're going to move into what men want.
Okay, we'll get there. But this was what women want today is often they want this, but I hope I made this clear. They're not clear about what they want because they don't know what they really need. They want him to change so that you'll be happy rather than she has to learn how to connect with her female side. Use him to connect with your female side. Then what you want will be something he can provide. It'll be easy.
And the formula sounds complicating, but in fact, it is so easy. Even those without mathematical skills can,
Well,
in fact,
let
learn
me,
it.
let's give everybody a break. This is hard stuff. Nobody does it. People are getting divorced. People, unless you're living in an indigenous culture where men are men and women are women, it's very hard to keep the passion alive. It's easy for me to explain it. You got to hear it over and over. Then you have to learn, if you're a woman, how to be more feminine, how to ask for help. How do you deal with your negative emotions about your partner? You don't tell your partner how bad they are or how disappointed you are about them. You learn to talk about other things. And then he's a little bit like a therapist who doesn't take things personally. See, a woman can say to me, whatever, she's never upset with me, so I can listen. But if my wife's upset with me, much harder to feel empathy, connection, and understanding. But if she tells me about other things that are bothering her, now I'm learning about women, which is if they can talk about their negative feelings for a while, they'll always come back to positive feelings. We're designed, all of us, to look at the negative and the positive. We have a prefrontal cortex, which is the left one, is designed only to see the positive. The right one is designed only to see the negative. So we have to look at our negative side and our positive side. And that tends to be the ideal order. If women can process their negative emotions, talking and sharing about them, it raises their estrogen. Even if it's not about your husband, you raise your estrogen up talking about other things, then the issues you have with your partner will be much smaller. And then at a separate time, you can easily ask because you're not charged up. The whole thing is when women are like upset with us, we don't do anything. It's like going to a job and not getting paid. I want a happy woman. So how do you be a happy woman? You use a man to help you become happier. Doesn't mean you have to be happy all the time, but now use him to become happier.
Not to make him happier, but to allow him to do things for you. And that's how he gets happier, correct?
That's exactly right. That's
This
exactly
is a
right. But we'll
formula.
hold off the details on that till our next call.
Exactly. Yes, 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 we will. Thank you so much, John, again for joining us today. You are a well of information, and you brought all that knowledge, in fact, from all those indigenous cultures, and also from the centuries back when people understood each other. And now you brought it to us into the West for us also to have this formula of understanding between each other. So thank you. And
Thank
we
you.
will be meeting again in a few weeks. So take a break right now before your next meeting. Take a little break, John.
Okay. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a good evening.